All right, and question number 11, it says Jacoby followed a recipe that requires 2 cups of water for every 3 cups of flour. If he used 8 cups of flour, how many cups of water did he use? So this is going to be another proportion problem. There, you're going to get a lot of practice with proportions because that's probably what you're going to see quite a bit of on the Accuplacer test. So again, remember, proportion is pretty much a fraction, 2 fractions that equal each other. So let's get our first fraction set up. So we have, it says 2 cups of water. So I'm going to write two cups water. And then that's 2 cups of water for every 3 cups of flour. So 3 cups, and I'm just abbreviating these. And that's going to be equal to, so remember, whenever you're doing proportions, if water's on the top on one side, water has to be on the top on the other side. If flour's on the top for one side, flour has to be on top for the other side. So we need to put water up at top, but it doesn't give us a water, so we could either use a question mark or we can use X. And we have 8 cups of flour on the bottom. So just like we did in previous examples, we just cross multiply. So we have 2 times 8 and 3x. So it's 2 times 8 equals 3x. And we know 2 times 8 is 16. So we'll get 16 equals 3x. And then we just need to get x on the side by itself. And to do that, we have to divide both sides. Let me change that up. Let me take that back to yellow. So we need to get x on the side by itself. We have to divide both sides by 3. That 3 on that side cancels out. So that leaves us with x is equal to 16 over 3. So we see that answer is not there, but it is actually there. We just need to change this improper fraction into a mixed fraction. So let's go ahead and do that. Let me give myself some space. All right, so to turn that improper fraction into a mixed fraction, we just divide 16 by 3. So let me change the color. So we're going to move to a different color. So 16 divided by 3. Let me make that a little bit. Need that a little bit too big. I need that top space. So 16 divided by 3. All right, so 3 can't go into 1. We put a 0 over that. But 3 can go into 16, and it can actually go into 16 5 times. And we know that 5 times 3 is 15. We subtract 15 from 16. That gives us 1. So since we don't have any decimals over here, we can stop right here. So we have 5 as the whole number. We have this 1, that remaining 1 becomes the numerator, and the denominator becomes the 3. So our answer is C. All right, in question number 12, it gives us an expression, and it says, which of the following is equivalent to the expression above? So first thing we want to do is we want to get rid of the parentheses. To do that, we need to multiply 4 times x and 4 times 5. And that's going to give us 4x plus 4 times 5 is 20. there's no multiplication going on with 4x and 8 because there's no parentheses there, so we can just write that down. So next, what we're going to do is add or subtract like values. So we have a 4x here, we have a 4x here, so we're going to add those two values together. So 4x plus 4x is 8x, and we have a 20 here, and we have an 8 here. So that's going to be plus 20 plus 8 is 28. So once we get to here, we see that there's no 8x plus 20x available for us. So what we need to do is we need to kind of simplify this. And to do that, we need to figure out what the largest number is that can go into 8 evenly and that can go into 28 evenly. So you can start off with 2, but you're going to have more work to do. So 4 can go into 8 evenly, and 4 can go into 28 evenly. So what we're going to do is we're going to have our 4, and we have to have parentheses because we have to multiply 4 by something. So 4 goes into 8 2 times, so that's going to be 2x plus, and 4 goes into 28 7 times, so that would be 7. So our answer is A. In question number 13, it says it took Khaled 90 minutes to complete 40 tasks. Which of the following is an equivalent rate? So we see that we have to break this down. And one easy way that I looked at it before I show you the other way is I see that all of my answers end up having a 10. So that's telling me the 10 tasks are going to be divided by 4, or it's going to be a quarter of the original task. Since the task that it says in the problem is 40, I know that was divided by 4. So you can just do the same thing, divide the 90 minutes by 4. So 4 goes into 9. 2 times 4 is 8. We subtract 8 from 9, that gives us 1. We can bring that down. That gives us 10. 4 goes into 10 2 times. And 4 times 2 is 8. That leaves us with 2. So we can stop right here because there's only one answer that has a 22 in it. But just to complete the problem, we know 4 can't go into 2 down here. So what we could do is add a 0 here. And when we add that 0, we need to put a period up at the top, or decimal point right next to the second 2. And we bring that 0 down. That gives us 20. 4 goes into 20 5 times. So the answer is 22.5. But I wanted to show you another way to do this. You can actually set this up as a proportion because you're going to probably see this a lot on the test. So what we know is for Khaled to complete 40 tasks, it's 90 minutes for 40 tasks. And that's going to be equal to, remember, if we have minutes on top on the left-hand side and task on the bottom on the left-hand side, we have to follow that same rule. And I probably should have wrote this over there, but just know that this is minutes over task. So we know that there's 10 tasks, so we need to put a 10 down here, and we're going to put an X here because we don't know how many minutes it is. So once we do that, all we have to do is solve the proportion, which we just cross multiply. And that gives us 90 times 10 is equal to 40x. And we know that 90 times 100, 90 times 10 is, this is 0. We start 0 here. 1 times 0 is 0. 1 times 9 is 9. Add those numbers, so that's 900. So we know 90 times 10 is 900, and that's equal to 40x. We need to get x on the side by itself. To do that, we have to divide both sides by 40. This side, the 40 cancels out, so that gives us x equals 90 over 440. All right, I'm gonna erase some stuff so I have some room to do this division. All right, so we have 900 divided by 40. 40 can't go into 9. We put a 0 over the 9. 40 can go into 90. That goes into 92 times. 2 times 40 is 80. That is a 0. We make that a little bit more legible. That is a 0. We subtract 80 from 90. That gives us 10. 40 can't go into 10. And we have the 0 here, so we bring that 0 down. 40 goes into 100 2 times. 2 times 40 is 80. Gives us 20. 40 can't go into 20. So what we can do, like we did before, is add a 0 here. When we add that first 0, we need to put our decimal up there. We bring that 0 down. And 40 goes into 200 5 times. So the answer is 22.5. So our answer is D. And question number 14. This could be a very confusing problem. That's why you probably want to read through this problem twice. The table above shows a survey of 50 registered voters. So we have a 50 right here. In a city, each voter was asked whether they plan to vote yes or no on 2 different issues. If a voter who plans to vote yes on issue P is randomly selected, what is the probability that voter also plans to vote yes on issue Q? So let's look at this. We can already eliminate all these no's right here. And then there's another no right here. So we can eliminate that. That leaves us with 8. But out of the whole amount of people that voted yes on P, there's a total of 20 that voted yes on P. But it's asking us yes on P and yes on Q. So that's why we're going to do 8 is at the top, because that's how many voted yes on Q and P. But the total amount of people that voted yes on P is 20. So that's how we get 8 over 20. So our answer is a decimal. So to turn a fraction into a decimal, what we need to do is divide 8 by 20. So what we're going to do is 20 goes on the outside. That's not a good color to use. So one way a student of mine told me they remember what number goes on the outside and what number goes on the inside. They just draw an arrow from the numerator on down. And that way they know that 8 goes on the inside, 20 goes on the outside. So that's a good way to remember what number goes on the outside and what number goes on the inside. So that's going to give us 20 on the outside, 8 on the inside. I am going to erase this 8 over 20 because I need the space. And actually, I'll just move this 8 over 20 down here because I need the space up here to do the math. All right, so again, we drop that 8, boom, that's our problem. So we're going to do 20 on the outside, 8 on the inside. So 8 cannot go into, or 20 cannot go into 8. So we put a 0 over the 8. We can add a 0 here. When we add that first 0, we need to put a decimal point up here. And 20 can go into 80 4 times. And 4 times 20 is 80. So that gives us 0. So our answer is C. In question number 15, it says, which of the following values is equivalent to 5 to the negative 3 power? So we're going to be doing some exponents, and a lot of people don't like exponents. So what they do is they're trying to confuse you by putting a negative exponent in the problem. Now, one way to think of this is if you have just a whole number, you can turn that whole number into a fraction. So if we have 2, if we have 6, if we have 7, we can turn each one of these numbers into a fraction. And there's a reason why I'm telling you this. 2 into a fraction is 2 over 1. 6 into a fraction is 6 over 1. 7 is 7 over 1 as a fraction. So I'm telling you this, and I mean, if we put another fraction or number in here, 49, 49 would go over 1. So that's how you turn those whole numbers into a fraction. So the reason I'm telling you this is because when you do a fraction or when you do an exponent, that number is actually like this. So it would be 5 to the 3rd power over 1. But when you have a negative exponent, that means that you have to flip that fraction. So when you have that negative exponent, it becomes 1 over 5 to the 3rd power. So that's why I went over that first part where I told you how whole numbers can be turned into fractions. So that explains why we have to flip that. Now, once we do flip that and it becomes 1 to the 3rd power, next, what we can do is, or all we have to do is, do 1 over 5 times 1 over 5 times, let me erase that, 1 over 5, because that's all 5 to the negative 3 power is. 1 over 5 times 1 over 5 times 1 over 5. So we know 5 times 5 is equal to 25. And then you multiply another 5. That gives you 125. So what that's going to equal is 1 over 125. So our answer is B.